Alright, so welcome back and welcome into my laundry room. And today we're going to do the next thing on my fix-it list or my to-do list, and that is that the dryer has stopped heating, which ultimately slides it to the top of the to-do list because now we got laundry that's wet and waiting, and we have other laundry to do. First things first, what kind of dryer do I have? I've got a Maytag, and if you look right here on the corner, it says Centennial. But that's not going to get us the parts we need. So the first thing that you actually want to do is try to find the model number. In this case, we're going to open up the front door, and the model number is right here on the side there. Now we have the model number. So what I like to do is look up my replacement parts. I'm going to need a heating element, and I need to order it off of Amazon and then wait for it to be delivered. Bam, that was fast. So I got here pretty quickly. This is what's called a dryer heating element kit, and their serial numbers are going to match the model number on my dryer. So I'll put a link in the comments so that way you can get, if you have the same dryer, same model number anywhere near it, you can get the same kit for yourself. And that'll help me out. Again, I'm one of those affiliates for Amazon, but you're gonna need some other tools, okay? So I just grabbed things that I think I'm going to need. So I grabbed me a couple pairs of pliers, needle nose pliers, and just regular pair of pliers. You are gonna need a cordless drill with a 1/4 inch drive for the screws that are on the back of this thing. I went ahead and grabbed a couple of screwdriver varieties, and also what I like to do is just a couple of disposable solo cups, so that way I can put screws and things in it so they don't roll off all over this floor. So what we're gonna have to do next is we're gonna have to pull this dryer away from the wall, unplug it, disconnect the exhaust vent, so that way we can access the back. So we're just doing it gently, and if you need help doing this, these things are a little bit bulky and awkward, I get that. But we're just gonna go ahead and pull it away from the wall a little bit. And in the back of the dryer, it is plugged into the wall. So we wanna go ahead and disconnect that. And I'm just gonna let that fall, and we're gonna continue to pull this away from the wall. Now that the machine has moved away from the wall and we have taken off the vent exhaust that was on there, we're taking a look at this because we have about 8 or 9 of these little screws that's got to come out. So that way we can pull this panel off and get access to the heating element that needs to be replaced. Now looking at that, this little panel here is a little bit overlapped on top of this panel here. So we are indeed going to have to move this out of the way. So we'll take this screw out and pull this out of the way as well. We're unplugged, so it should be de-energized and no problems like that. And then I'm starting to see a lot of lint build up back here, so we may have to pull this panel off and just take maybe compressed air or some sort of tool to blow that lint build up out of here. So let's get to work. Let's see what we can do. So here we go. I'm gonna take first this little panel off, and again, I'll catch that panel there, but I don't want to lose my little screw, so I'm gonna throw it in my solo cup. So that's out of our way. Now we can go around the edge of this and get all the others out. There's one under the plug wire here. If it's pushing this way back in, you'll get, there it is. I got that out. They don't have too many threads, so it doesn't take too long to get them out. Is there any on the bottom? Does not look like it. I just want to make sure I don't cut my cord here against this tin. Pull that out of the way. So I'll move that cord out of the way and get this panel out of our way. So our heating element is right in here, and so what we're going to need to do is just take a look at it. You've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different power cables connected to the thing, but in all honesty, I believe that we only need the bottom. So let's take a look and see what's in our kit here. So this is what came in the box. This is the actual heating element, and if you look at that, those are just little heaters that electrically come on and give the dryer some heat. So actually what I'm going to need access to is just this bottom. It lines up with this bottom piece right here. So I'm going to end up taking the old one off of there and doing that. And then the kit also came with all the little connectors that you might need for this little piece right here. So that's my next goal, is to get that little piece off of the bottom there, so that way we can pull the old out and get the new one in. So first things first, again, I'm going to take these connectors off. Try not to crunch them, man. That one
That one's a little heated right there. And good thing is we got video evidence of where these wires were. So that way later, when I'm like, where did that go? We can go back and look at the video. I'm gonna switch to some pliers here. Trying to get them off that way, because it feels like they got a little hot, and they might just be a little tough to get off of there. And let's see about this one. Started. There we go. So just 3 wires out of our way. Next thing is there's a screw here, and there's one over here on this side. I don't feel anything on the bottom, so we're gonna need to get those 2 screws out of the way. I'm gonna put them in my second solo cup, keep them separate from those others. Cool. Pull that out. Let's do a little side by side here. Whole lot of heat been going on in that one. And that one's nice and shiny. So you can definitely see there's a difference. I would venture to say, since we have tried to dry and we haven't gotten any heat, my heating element is bad. So before I plug this new one in, I'm going to take a little bit of time and I'm going to clean some of that dust and debris and stuff that has built up on the back of this dryer. So we cleaned up just a little bit, and I noticed something. If you look at these 2, of course one of them is burnt up, the other one's a brand new, but this is pretty standard on the inside. Right? So that right there and that right there is about the same on that. But if you look at the outside now, you see that we're missing a connector up here. Now if you look at this one, that's what we're needing. The kit came with all these different adapters and plugs, and I assume because they send this kit out for different models of Maytag. And what I did was I did find the one that we need. If you take a look at that one there, it matches up with this here almost perfectly. So I would definitely recommend finding the exact one that you need and going with the new one. So I'm gonna open this up, add it to my new one, and then get ready to install this thing on the back of my dryer. So here we go. So I'll just open up this package here, and I'm just gonna use this as reference. Figured out what I needed to do, maybe just a little southern negotiations, if you will. I went ahead and put it on this little clip there that it goes on, and then I stuck it on there, and all I'm doing is I'm just using my wrench here to just tap that down onto the prong there. And somebody's like, oh no, don't do that. That seems to be what's working. And once you give it a few taps, make sure that it's all the way on there, just like so. And I don't know if you can see that very well. That prong is on there, and we are ready to connect up and get this thing up and running. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this back onto the back of our dryer. Alright, stick that in there. Make sure that your screw holes line up. And if you recall, I kept those separate, so I'm gonna use a cup, dump those back out, get one of them just started. I'm gonna use the drill just yet. I just want to get it started so that way I know I can line them both up. And that one don't seem to be perfect. No, that one might be. There we go. Just get it started. And then on the other side, same thing. Just move it just a little bit so the holes will line up. Get that thing started on this side. Perfect. Now, if you don't want to use a drill on the drive, I get that. You may want to use just a hand tool. That's perfectly fine. This just makes the job a little bit quicker. Now that is on there. So we got the thing mounted up, and I gotta be honest with you, we went back in the video. Remember, I had video evidence of where these wires came off of, so that way you put the right wires back on the right prong. So this one was up top here, and I remember having just a little bit of tough time getting it out of there. But getting it back on there is pretty easy. So this one went here, right here in the middle, and this one was right there. So we are all wired back up. So all that's left to do now, if we're gonna back up just a little bit, is we gotta put our back panel back on, and then we gotta put that little plate back on. Then we gotta turn this machine around. We gotta cross our fingers and hope that we did it correctly, right? That's the main thing. Hey, if you like my videos, go ahead and like and subscribe them. It does help me out. But here's the thing is I hope you see that with this kind of knowledge comes a little bit of power. And the little bit of power is this. That little kit cost me less than $50. A new dryer is going to cost me hundreds, if not $1,000 or so dollars. to get me a new dryer in here. Of course, I'm gonna need the newest and latest dryer with the Bluetooth, and it probably streams my music and maybe even has Netflix on the door or something like that. That's gonna cost me a lot of money, but I gotta have top of the line, right? But less than $50, and I believe this machine's gonna work for me for a few more years, if not a little bit longer. So that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna put this panel back on, I'm gonna spin this around and get it back connected up, and then we are going to test it out. So here we go. Bottom on there. Make sure the bottom's not gonna come out on us. Perfect. And I got my screws right here. And again, just get those started. And the little panel. Don't forget that part. So those little lips right there are what sits on that ledge right there. And then this thing screws in. There we go. That protects the electrical. So we got the dryer back in place. We've got the dryer vent back connected. We've got the plug. It only goes one direction in there. Make sure it's plugged in correctly. And I've got a wet rag that we're going to try out, just so that way you know I'm not pulling any kind of photo tricks. This is in fact a wet rag. So I'm going to throw it in here. And we're going to see it dryer vent. I'm just going to put it on about 20 minutes here. Right there, and I'm going to hit start. It didn't blow up, so I'll come back in about 20 minutes and we're going to check and see if that rag is warmed up and dried off. All right, moment of truth, here we go. Did it work? It did. This thing is warm, and you can definitely tell that there's been heat in here. So, again, $40, $50 for that kit versus hundreds of dollars for a new dryer. So I would say that was a win. Check back in with me later.